This video is sponsored by Denk Nutrition, essential nutrients for your health.
My name is Priscilla Wilson. I am a property manager. I have 2 kids, 2 boys. So a month after I got married, I missed my period. And I just knew I was pregnant because I am very sure the day fertilization was happening, I think I felt it. So when I missed my period, I just knew I was pregnant. So I told my husband, I think I'm pregnant. And he was like, okay, let's just do a home test. So we bought some test kits and then I peed on them. And voila, 2 lines and I was pregnant. Okay, so I've always loved to see pregnant women. I don't know, but pregnancy, I'm a fan. So when I realized I was pregnant, oh God, I was really happy. I was looking forward to it. So I didn't have any challenges. I sailed through the pregnancy. No morning sickness, no spitting. I didn't have cravings, but I would eat my usual morning wache. No, I would always have my own morning wache. There was a wache joint opposite my office. I would always buy it, and then I would make sure I was taking my medicine. But I didn't have any challenges. It was my second pregnancy that I didn't have any challenges. But then one morning I was driving to work. I was on the ring road, and then before I heard boom, I'd hit someone's back. And I was like, what do you mean? So I came out of the car. I was going to apologize. Then he started, I'm so sorry. Then the driver came out and said, Madam, are you okay? Are you fine? Is the baby okay? I'm like, oh, I'm fine, the baby's fine. And then I was like, he should move his car forward so that I'll see if I'd caused any damage. I'm like, no, I shouldn't worry. I should just go. So in my mind, I was like, wow. I've been given attention and all that, but this was like top of it. I'm sure if I wasn't pregnant, I would have received it. Yeah, so I love the attention, the care, things you are able to do yourself. I mean, people would want to do for you, and I watch a queue. The watch server will serve you first before any others. The attention was great. I didn't mind the name calling. If you call me Abrewa, I don't mind, because I would make sure I would dress well. I would put on my makeup and all that. So if you call me Abrewa, I'll tell you, when Abrewa, why shepe say that? I mean, I didn't joke with my maternity clothes at all. Like, I would make sure I dressed well, put on my makeup, no matter how. Because I wasn't having any morning sickness and everything, I was okay. Like, I really sailed through. I was fine. When I was 38 weeks pregnant, I went for my usual antenatal, and then the doctor checked the position of the baby and told me the baby was head up. So if in 1 week the baby hadn't turned, we would go for a cesarean. And I was like, no way, I'm not having a cesarean. So I went home, I googled a whole lot of ways to turn the baby around, and then I came across this thing called the forward leaning inversion. You lean at the edge of the bed, and then you suspend yourself. You put your elbows on the floor, suspend yourself, and then I did that for 5 minutes a day. And then in a week, when I went back for antenatal, the doctor told me the baby had turned. So I was very excited that the baby had turned to head down position. So he gave me another week. So at 40 weeks, when labor still hadn't set in, I did everything I was told to do: eat pineapples, have sex, go for walks. Labor was just not coming. So at 40 weeks, my doctor told me that he was booking me for induction. So the day for the induction came, we went. I was induced. Around 6 a.m. 4 hours later, my water broke, but it was meconium stained, meaning the baby had pooped in the amniotic fluid. So my labor started. I was feeling the pains, but because at antenatal classes we were told to keep the energy for the pushing, I didn't scream, I didn't shout. The labor was going, I was contracting. They came to check, I was 2 centimeters. I was like, okay. So all from 6 a.m. till about 8 p.m. I was still contracting. My husband was with me in the labor ward. And the pain kept increasing. But then before the doctor left at 8 p.m., he came to check again. And I was still 2 centimeters. I'm like, hey, like, so before he left, he induced me again so that by morning, I could deliver. Throughout the night, I was in pain. My husband was with me. I was really in pain. But I was still saving my energy for pushing. The pain kept going on. So I even told him to let the nurses come and check. Maybe I was like 8 or 9 centimeters so that I could prepare, to push. But then they came to check and I was still 2 centimeters. Like, what's going on? Like, I've never seen this in any of the books or Google anything. So morning came, the doctor came to check. And I was still 2 centimeters. With all the contractions I've been having, everything, I was still 2 centimeters. My labor wasn't progressing. So he decided to monitor me for a while. And it was around 12 when the nurse came and I asked her, what if I want cesarean? Because I was exhausted. I was tired. What if I want cesarean? Like, the doctor was even talking about it, that the way my labor is not progressing, I might end up having cesarean. So the doctor came in and then explained everything to me. And I'm like, I'm tired. I just want the baby out. So I was taken to the theater and I was delivered. At the theater, I was injected at my back. But when the doctor started cutting me, I could feel the pain. So I screamed, Aji! And then the anesthesiologist asked me why. Like, I could feel the pain. You're like, I'm not supposed to feel the pain. I'm like, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the cut. So asked him, the way I was exhausted and I hadn't slept all night, so he should just put me to bed. So he passed some medicine through the IV and then I slept off. So when the baby came out, I didn't see him. So I think my husband was there. They took the baby. So before I realized, I was out of the theater and then I was done with the surgery. So because of the medicine, I kept going. I was drowsy. So I kept going in and out, sleeping. And then finally my baby was brought to me and I was too tired, like, to hold the baby or breastfeed or anything. So I just kept sleeping. I think I saw the baby properly on the Saturday. I delivered on the Friday. So I think I saw the baby properly the next day because I was just tired. When I had a cesarean, the baby was brought out. Later, I was told that if we had delayed in the cesarean, I may have lost the baby. I might have lost the baby. Because when they took the baby out, there was no fluid around it. The baby was dry, like all the fluid had come out. So if he had stayed there any longer, he would have died. So I think I trusted my instinct when I requested, what if I want the cesarean? Because at that time I was tired. And I'm sure they would have picked it up because we were monitoring the heartbeat of the baby. So I'm sure if the baby's heart rate was dropping, but it may have been late. So this was cut in time. Like when we did the cesarean, when we took the baby out, there was no fluid around it. So when I was packing my hospital bag, a dress to wear to the house, I didn't take a maternity dress. I took one of my old clothes, thinking once the baby comes out, my tummy would go back to its original position. So on Saturday and Sunday, when I was, when I realized that, I'm still pregnant. So I had to let them bring a maternity dress so that I could wear to the house. So we were discharged on Monday. We went home and the baby won't stop crying. And I would put the baby to breast and he won't suck. Like, he wouldn't just suck the breast milk. So I thought I was doing it wrong. So at that time I was in my matrimonial home because I had to be there for 2 weeks to name the baby before going to my parents' home. So my mother-in-law was around. The baby wouldn't stop crying. I would try and, for the first 6 weeks I had to write exams, professional exam. So I had to study. I had to take care of my CS incision. I had to take care of the baby. And you won't stop crying. So one day, my mother-in-law came around. I gave the baby to her. And I just went to sleep. Because I was tired. I didn't know that, waking up at dawn was that. I love to sleep. I love my sleep. Don't wake me up when I'm sleeping. I love sleeping. But this changed my life. Like, it changed it. I was just exhausted. So that day, when she came, I told her, the baby won't stop crying. He's not sucking the breast milk. So I expressed, and then we put it in the... Tommy TP came with a certain cup. So I gave it to my mother-in-law to give it to the baby. And I just went to sleep. I think I slept for about an hour, but it was really worth it. So I was crying. My husband came, you're doing well, you're fine, you're doing well. I think he just wanted to, say something to make me feel all right. But I was really tired because I think I was being selfish because I wasn't sleeping. Because I wasn't having my sleep. Yeah, but later on, I was able to adjust to the baby. I was able to adjust. And I didn't know, when you tell people you've delivered, they ask you how you delivered. I didn't know. I didn't know it was a thing. So when you tell, oh, my woo, then they go like, CS or vaginal birth. I'm like, why would you even ask me that? Like, why? I have come home with a healthy baby who is alive. Like, people go and then they don't, But then, I think, and some won't even ask you, they find another way. So they ask you when you delivered and if you are home. So they do the calculation. If you delivered via vaginal delivery, you are discharged almost immediately. If you delivered via cesarean, you are kept in the hospital for like 3 days. So if they ask you when you delivered and then they ask you if you are home, they do the math and know that. But I found it like all weird. Why would you even want to know how I delivered? Because I think, the attacks about having cesarean means you are lazy. It's the misconceptions out there are just too many. But anyway, I was able to adjust. So after the naming, I moved to my parents' home. My mom really helped. She would take the baby and then sleep with the baby so that I would also have rest. So when the baby wakes up at dawn, she'll bring the baby, I would breastfeed the baby. Then she'll take the baby back. So she will wake up in the morning, the washing of the baby, bathing of the baby, she would make food and all those things. So I wasn't really doing much. I was just studying for my exams and then breastfeeding the baby and then eating. So I was able to adjust. It was fine. It was the second pregnancy that, let me just go back a bit. So with the first pregnancy, at 3 weeks after the cesarean, I was healed. I didn't feel any pain again. I would press my tummy to see if, I could feel the pain. But when I was 3 weeks, I just didn't feel the pain again. I was healed. I was like very fine. So I started tying my stomach with a cloth because that one you can adjust the... can adjust, with the corset is very tight, so you can adjust the tightness and all that with the cloth. So I started with that, but so yeah, at 3 weeks I was fine, but with the second pregnancy, with the second childbirth, it delayed. My healing delayed. I was not healing fast as I thought I would, because the first one I think I had it very easy, but the second one it took me 5 weeks to heal. And I was, after 3 weeks, when I wasn't healing, the next 2 weeks, it was just crying, asking why I'm not healing. I always thought cesarean, because I had gone through the first one. The first one was easy. I thought this one would also sail through, but it took me 5 weeks to heal. But all in all, I was able to heal before the 6-week period, so I was fine. So we're circumcised at 2 weeks, when the baby was 2 weeks old, because the doctor told us that at that time they're able to stand pain. So we're booked for circumcision. We went in. Luckily, the hospital gives anesthesia. They numb the area, so the baby doesn't feel any pain. But then afterwards, the baby kept crying, but then we're told it wasn't the pain, it was discomfort. I'm like, what is this? And we're told not to put anything on it, just bath the baby normal, not tighten the diaper and all that. So we're doing that, and then kept a cord sheet in between his thighs so that when he's kicking, he doesn't, bruise it. So I think he got healed in 7 days. We did the ring method, so the ring came off in 7 days. But the second baby, the ring was very tight. Same hospital, same procedure, but the ring was very tight. In 7 days, the ring wasn't coming off. So one time I was changing the diaper, and then before I realized, it was bleeding. So I quickly called, because I was at my parents' place, I quickly called my husband that he should come and let's take the baby to the hospital. So we called the hospital. It was a Saturday. We called the hospital, and then we're told the doctor was around, the surgeon, pediatric surgeon was around. So we should bring the baby. We took the baby, and when he saw it, like the ring was too tight. So they had to bring it off, because he said at around 7 days, it should be loosening up a bit. But then it wasn't, so he was bleeding. They took the ring off and he was fine. But I think when you follow the time to give the medicine to the children, it works. When you have to give them, is it 6 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m., it works. When you stick to the time, it works. And same with the CS. I wasn't feeling pains because I was sticking to the time to take my pain medication, antibiotics, and all those things. And that worked for me, because that was what we're told at antenatal classes, that if you follow the time, you wouldn't feel any pain. So I kept to the time, because I wasn't in for any discomfort. I didn't want any discomfort, so I kept to the time. I would take my medication regularly. So I think I did same for the children with the circumcision, and it worked. So at 5 months, 2 weeks for the first child, we started with porridge with fish powder and an egg yolk cooked together in a feeding bottle, and he took it. It wasn't difficult. He took it. But I joined a mom page, and they were given tips on feeding. You start with carrot puree. So after the cocoa, I realized he took the cocoa. I went to the page and then saw most of the menus. And then I prepared them: carrots puree, avocado puree, potato puree, all those purees. But he wasn't taking it. But when grandma does kokonte with okra soup, or soft bank with okra soup, they would eat it. Hey, so yeah, they eat in poto with either yam or sweet potatoes, cereals. There's this page, does cereals for kids. So I buy them and then they like it. That's for their breakfast. Fruits, Cerelac, not really, but then the fruits, the local dishes, TZ with ayoyo, bangkun, kokonte. They like kokonte a lot. I don't eat kokonte myself, but the kids love it. My first child sat by 4 months. He crawled by 7. He was standing by 8. But he delayed in walking. He walked after a year. He walked 1 year, 3 weeks. 3 weeks after his first birthday, that's when he walked. And the same for the second child. He met his milestones earlier than the first one. So he was sitting by 3 months. By 6 months, he was crawling. By 8 months, he was pulling to stand. And he's moving at 1 year. Not so fast, but he's able to move a step and then he's standing and he starts again. So he's a year now, but then he's not walking fast. But then he moves 1, 2, then he's sitting, moves 1, 2, then he's sitting. Yeah. So the first one is the one in school. The second one just turned 1, so he's yet to go to school. The first one started school at 1 year, 4 months. I was looking at the number of students in a class for them. I was looking at proximity, but I wasn't so concerned because it should be in the neighborhood, not far away from where we live. But what I was concerned with the number of students in a class, because I heard, they pick up all sorts of infections from school. There are lots in the class and all that. So I was really concerned with the feeding, the number of students in the class, and the number of teacher per student. So we did a little survey. We visited about 3 or 4 schools, and then we settled on one because the students were very less. They had about 4 teachers and then caretakers for that crèche class. He's in nursery 1 now, but when he started, he was in crèche, and he had 1 teacher attending to him, so I could communicate with her via WhatsApp if there was any issue. So yeah. It was just the initial stages, but now I'm adjusting. I don't think my husband really helps. So I think when I had the second child, the first child was really close to him. So he was taking care of the first one whilst I was taking care of the second one. It's not been so challenging. I don't think I've had any maybe when my son, the first child, he got some real bad constipation just when I had delivered the second baby. It was terrible, it was terrible. We went to the hospital several times. Medications were not working. In the end, we had to do some tests at Reg Hospital. When we brought the test back, we're told he might have to be operated upon. And I had just delivered a month. The baby was just a month old. And I was just sitting there crying and saying, look at me. I'm just had surgery. Even I can't stand pain. Then he was less than 2 years. This baby had to go through surgery to correct something. They call it Hirschsprung disease. It was hard. So we were referred to the pediatric surgeon. And then when we went, he told us he would do his own assessment. So he did his own assessment, gave us medication. And it worked. It worked. So we didn't need the surgery again. I was so happy because I when I hear babies being constipated, it wasn't a good experience. It wasn't at all. I was always going to the hospital with a newborn baby, my mom. So I'm really careful about what they eat. I had to change his diet completely. More greens. He was eating the greens. He was eating a lot of fruits. So I just didn't understand how it came about, because every night at dawn when he wakes up, he drinks fruits. I make it into a puree and then that's what he takes. So I just didn't understand how he was constipated. When I look at my kids, I'm really happy. Sometimes I'm like, or I should just come and sit at home and watch them every day. But you need to bring in money. You just can't come sit at home and then watch them. I always want to be with them. The first one is talking. Now we are able to, have a discussion. When I call him sweetheart, you say, don't say sweetheart, call him. He'll mention his name. Now he told me sweetheart is for daddy. It's fun. Like, you look at them and you are happy, you are content. We need John who say, so I'm raising someone. So I always say I'm raising men. I'm raising men, yeah.
This video was brought to you by Denk Nutrition, because health is more than just the absence of disease.